All right, Ronan MMA, welcome back to the channel. Now, Kamaru Usman called out Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, and I did actually record a video on this subject yesterday, but then I found out that Stephen Wonderboy Thompson had actually responded to it, which I wasn't aware of while I was filming that video, so I didn't end up uploading it, but I do want to talk about it a little bit today. This is going to be a relatively short video, and then I will be doing my picks video for this week's fight night. Kamaru Usman called him out after Stephen Wonderboy Thompson's fight fell through with Michelle Pereira this past weekend. And by the way, I didn't touch on that really at all last week, but I do not blame Wonderboy Thompson even a little bit. Okay, first of all, I went back and rewatched Michelle Pereira weighing in on Friday, and he did not, to me, look all that sunken in. You could definitely tell that he had been cutting weight, okay? But Stephen Wonderboy Thompson's team was told hours before the weigh-in that Michelle Pereira allegedly was going to miss weight because he had stopped sweating. And to me, that just made me think that Michelle Pereira was trying to get away with some shit. And the reason is because while Stephen Wonderboy Thompson looks like he's a lot closer to 170 walking around than Michelle Pereira would be, arguably it's actually easier for Michelle Pereira to cut weight. Do you know what I mean? Dudes that carry a lot more muscle mass are able to hold a lot more water. And if you were water loading sufficiently leading up to this fight week and during fight week before your weight cut, you should have been able to cut the weight. You know what I mean? This is why Yoel Romero was able to make 185, and I understand that he missed weight a couple times, but like you see Kelvin Gastelum miss by 10 pounds at 170, right? And then you see Yoel Romero able to make 185, 186 on a number of occasions. He didn't miss a whole lot, a few times, but still. Michelle Pereira should have been able to cut that weight, man. He didn't look that sunken in. And to me, it seems like a guy like Michelle Pereira, maybe his fight purse is 80 grand, something like that. You pay 24 grand. And if you look at it as like a long-term investment with a potential for a massive ROI, you know what I mean? Return on investment. You cough up 24 grand to your opponent now with the opportunity to jump up 6 or 7 places in the rankings, putting you in the top 7. And then all of a sudden you're just a couple fights away from a title shot. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it seems like to me. He didn't look like he was dying up there. Do you know what I mean? So I don't blame Wonderboy Thompson one bit for not taking that fight, and I did not understand all of the shit he was catching for it. But regardless, Usman calls him out after this, and at first I thought, Usman, you're such a fucking... You know what I mean, dude? I thought Usman's got to be feeling this is the best stylistic matchup possible for me. I can avoid fighting Bilal or guys like that, you know what I mean? And get back in the win column over Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. But then I thought about it a little bit more, and I thought, well, you know what, dude? He's given Wonderboy now the opportunity to jump up 6 spots in the rankings. I did think, though, that there was no way in hell that Stephen Wonderboy Thompson would ever accept this fight because he's been pretty vocal after suffering back-to-back losses to Gilbert Burns and Bilal Muhammad that he didn't want to fight grapplers anymore. You know what I mean? Match me up with strikers, he kept saying to the UFC. While at the same time thinking that he's going to earn a title shot that way when literally every single guy in the top 5 at welterweight has an extremely wrestling or grappling heavy style. You know what I mean? So you're going to have to show everybody that you can get past at least one of these guys. So I thought maybe he was being a little bit delusional in that sense. And I'm not trying to shit on Wonderboy, by the way. I appreciate him. I love watching him fight, and he's a super nice dude, so you know what I mean? But I thought it was a little weird that he was actively campaigning for, like, getting to a title shot while only wanting to fight strikers when nobody in the top 5 is actually strictly a striker. And maybe he realized this because he responded back. He was asked in an interview with MMA Junkie about this, and he said, Kamaru Usman has always been a guy that I've never had the opportunity to face off against. For him to say he was willing to fight and that it makes sense at this point, it's awesome. I'm all for it. To be honest with you, I'm all for it. So he's essentially verbally agreeing to fight Kamaru Usman. He said he wanted to do it at Madison Square Garden, if I'm not mistaken, which is in November. So he would get another full fight camp, essentially, and not have to cut weight 2 times relatively close together. And, you know what I mean, give Kamaru a little bit of time to get ready also. I didn't think Wonderboy would accept this, man, but again, I feel like he realizes, like, I'm gonna have to beat one of these fucking guys if I do ever want to fight for a title, which I do think is a little, you know, is kind of wishful thinking at this stage in the game. At his age, there are guys that have already earned title shots that are ahead of you, and whether or not you beat Kamaru Usman and end up at number one in the rankings, you know what I mean? Bilal Muhammad is over here with a win over you, and Gilbert Burns has a win over you, but he just lost. So it's like, it's a weird situation going on at welterweight, waiting for Leon Edwards versus Colby Covington to see what we can do after that. But I will say, a few years ago, I would have been much more against this fight because Kamaru Usman was in his prime, and you know it seemed as though not a single person alive could stop his takedown aside from Colby Covington, and it seemed like a relatively easy fight to think who would win. You know what I mean? It's like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson would get ragdolled. If we watch that happen to Gilbert, or with Gilbert Burns, we watch that happen with Bilal Muhammad. Why would it not happen with Kamaru Usman? But something that I will point out, and I'm not saying that I think Wonderboy is going to win this fight, by the way, I don't think so, but Kamaru Usman seems to have aged a little less gracefully than Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, in the sense that his body's breaking down. He's not as explosive as he once was. You know what I mean? His timing's not as good as it once was. His striking, while it looked good for a while there during a few of his title fights, specifically, you know, the Jorge Masvidal KO, and then the jab that he was absolutely butchering Gilbert Burns' face with. It seems like he's declining a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, Leon Edwards was able to stuff the vast majority of his takedown attempts. And while Leon Edwards is very good technically and has extremely good takedown defense, I feel like a year or even 2 years ago, that wouldn't have been the case. And Stephen Wonderboy Thompson's very good at getting away from guys, very good at keeping you at his range, although he has to do that with kicks. So all it would take is one caught kick from Kamaru Usman, and Wonderboy Thompson's on his back for the rest of the round, essentially. So, you know what I mean? It is what it is. But I do think that Wonderboy should accept this fight. It's unfortunate that neither of these guys jumped on the opportunity to fight Shavkat Rakhmonov when he was supposed to fight Kelvin Gastelum, instead of making him wait a little bit longer, but it is what it is. I think this would be a fun matchup. They're both older, both kind of towards the end of their career. Like, I'm not going to tell either guy when that I think they should retire or whatever, but you know what I mean? They're both definitely up there in age, and why not, man? You know what I mean? Because Usman's probably thinking, if I can't beat Wonderboy, I might as well fucking retire. And Wonderboy should be thinking, if I win this fight, I'm ranked number one, and I can get one last title shot before I do hang it up. So, anyways, man, let me know what you guys think about this fight. Who do you think would win at this stage in the game, right? Keep in mind, neither of these guys are really in their prime anymore. I think Wonderboy's aged a little better than Kamaru Usman, but regardless, let me know what you guys think about it. I'm about to go do my picks and preview video, so like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. I will see you at the next video. Bye-bye.